Hey, what's up, enthusiasts? My name is Drew, and welcome back to this week's episode of PC Planet. We've got a great show coming up tonight. We got less than stellar GPUs from Intel, a newly launched and completely useless NVIDIA card, a very special announcement at the end of the show, and a whole lot more, so don't go away. I'll be back with Corey. Hey, welcome back to PC Planet, guys. Like I said in the intro, my name is Drew, and with me in the virtual studio today is Corey.
Hello.
Corey, we've got a pretty good show tonight. We've got a whole bunch of crazy news and some really shitty news. GPUs suck. ASRock supports a 13th generation of Intel processor, and a whole lot more. So we'll go ahead and get started here with the Threadripper Pro price tag. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Threadripper Pro 5965WX, the cheapest one, starts at $23.99.
Yeah,
And it goes up from there.
It goes all the way up to the 5995WX with a blistering price tag of 6,499 buckaroos.
6,500 bucks.
Coming up on $10,000 for a rig with a 5995WX.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if you're dropping a 64 core Threadripper, you're not going to be dropping in anything short of a 3090 or a 4090, depending on when you build it.
Yeah, I would think so, because it would only be for a workstation. You're not going to have that on a regular desktop, certainly not a $6,500 processor.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, we haven't really been seeing a whole lot of Threadripper builds lately.
No. And it's unfortunate, because I remember back in the day with the second generation of Threadripper, I had a buddy of mine come to me asking me to build him a workstation for video editing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, dude, Threadripper, totally. Do it.
Yeah.
And I can't recommend Threadripper anymore, because that price is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and honestly, like, do we know what the performance uplift is from the 5995WX over like a standard Ryzen 9 5900? Like, is it because the top end Ryzen 9 is still less than $1,000? So is the performance uplift really worth 6.5 times the maximum bullshit eBay price on a 5900?
I don't know. I mean, it's 64 cores, 128 threads, Zen 3 at 4.5 gigahertz boost across the entire lineup. So, theoretically, these are some pretty powerful chips. Now, are this $6,500 powerful?
Yeah. Well, you can get a 5900X, which is a 12-core chip, for $400. Retail, brand new.
Yeah, and that would be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I do a lot of video editing. I do a lot of video editing and coding, things like that. And a 4 to 5 minute video running raw 8K footage, converting to 4K for a 4K production video on my Ryzen 7 5800X, it encodes in under 5 minutes. And I can only imagine that a 5900X would do it in probably, 3 to 4 minutes. So what, honestly, would you be gaining from a $6,500 processor?
I don't know.
I mean, unless you're trying to render a 2-hour video in half an hour, I don't know.
Or maybe if you're like a pro shop and money is no object.
That's the only thing I could think of. That's the only thing I can think of, because the 5900X is it's a 12. Let's see here, it's a specifications. It's a 12-core, 24-thread, boosts up to 4.8 gigahertz. And what was that? 5995.
It boosts 5.
it boosts up to 4.5. L3 cache of 256 megabytes.
It's quite a bit.
L3 cache of 64 megabytes on the 5900X. So I don't know. Maybe there's a use case for it. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they both run PCI 4.
So the discussion question I have here is Threadripper on the desktop dead? I think absolutely. Certainly on the consumer desktop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, for the consumer desktop, Threadripper hasn't really been commonplace.
Not
to begin
commonplace, but for, prosumer, it definitely has been out there.
Yeah, I mean, they're both running on the Zen 3-core architecture.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as the consumer prosumer space, I think Threadripper's dead.
They're both running on the same TSMC 7nm process too. Wait, hold up.
Just Zen 3 is
okay.
more of it.
Okay, yeah. So the L2 cache. Okay. Yeah, so it's basically just it looks like basically just a super ramped up version of a 5900X.
Yeah, it's like a 5900X times 4. Or a 5950X times 4.
It even has very similar TJ Maxx temperatures. 90C on the 5900X versus 95C on the 5995WX.
Yeah, imagine what it takes to cool that thing though.
Let's look here. Default TDP is 280 watts on the 5995WX. Jesus Christ.
That's a whole lot of watts.
Yeah, considering on the 5900X, it's only 105 watt.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's almost a third of the TDP of the 5995WX. Again, this honestly kind of loops us back to what we've been saying lately about graphics cards. Why?
Yeah.
This is the 5995. In fact, the entire 5000 series Threadripper. It is not an innovative launch. There's nothing innovative here.
There's nothing innovative about that price, that's for sure.
In fact, you know what? I'm actually going to look at the 5965WX. Again, max boost clock of up to 4.5 gigahertz, which is 0.2 gigahertz slower, about 200 megahertz slower than the 5900. This one has an L2 cache or an L3 cache of 128 megabytes versus the 64 megabyte of the 5900, so twice the L3 cache. Again, still has a 95C max TJ Maxx, so 5 Celsius higher than the 5900. It's a 24-core processor. Like, again, this loops us back to the GPUs. Why? Why do we have this? It still has a 200. The 5965WX, which is the cheapest $2,500 Threadripper, still has a 280 watt TDP.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I don't understand. The only thing I can think of is this is to make shareholders happy. It's a new SKU. We don't really have anything, so here's a new SKU. Here's a new SKU. Oprah over here. You get a SKU. You get a SKU. Everybody gets a SKU.
Yeah. And speaking of new SKUs, we have ARC A770M and A730M, Alchemist GPU benchmarks, and...
Hold up. The 5965WX is not overclockable.
Of course it's not. It's Threadripper. Threadripper Pro, sorry.
Yeah, hold up. Yeah, none of them are overclockable. You can't overclock these. So you're dropping $6,000, $2,000 to $6,000 on a CPU, and you can't even overclock it.
Nah, that sucks.
Anyways, moving on. Segue.
Moving on.
Very, very blunt segue. Moving on.
We got Intel. So, to go along with this, I think Linus Tech Tips on the WAN show, they finally figured out Intel's naming scheme for their Arc Alchemist GPUs. So the letter, so A would be the generation. So we've got Alchemist,
Alpha generation,
and then 7 we've got the 357 naming. So A3 would be the low end, A5 would be mid range, A7 would be the high end, and then of course the different numbers for different, SKUs in the middle. And then of course M for mobile. So we've got A770M and A730M mobile edition high-end Alchemist GPU benchmarks. The 770 is slightly faster than RTX 3060, but draws more power.
So Intel's top Arc A series GPU, their top tippity top
mobile
barely beats out. Do we know if the 3060 tested here was also a mobile variant?
Yes.
Dude,
yeah, 3060 was on a MSI Pulse GL66.
An A770M with a graphics clock of 1650 megahertz?
Yeah.
Bro. Yeah. Their top-end processor is barely beating out NVIDIA's bottom-end processor, or graphics processor.
Yeah, ouch.
With a higher power draw. Dude, Intel does this every single time they have tried to branch out from strictly CPUs. This is literally history repeating itself.
That's true, but I think to be fair, if you were expecting them to come out of the woodwork just like that with completely competitive products, I think you're crazy. This is Intel's first generation where they're actually trying to do a real discrete GPU. Could they come out of the woodwork with Battle Mage the next generation and maybe actually bring something exciting to the game? I think they could. I'm cautiously optimistic that they will. It would be really nice if they did.
Well, bear in mind that with Intel, this is something that they've been working on since January of 2021 with their initial DG1 graphics card. And even back then, I mean, they've been working on this for over a year and a half at the minimum. And the initial Intel DG1 dev card from May of 2020 had a Firestrike score of 5538, which is slower than the entry-level GPUs from both AMD and NVIDIA, which at the time was the GTX 1050.
Okay, but how long have AMD and NVIDIA been in the graphics card game?
Right, but you would think that with Intel producing processors and being king of gaming for this long, that they would have some knowledge of how to formulate the process for a GPU. Like, I'll be honest, was I expecting, 3090 Ti performance out of Intel's mid-range GPU? No. Was I expecting something better on their top end than a 3060? Oh yeah. I was expecting on their top end, maybe not 3090, I was hoping for at least like 3080 level performance, because that would at least put them on par. That would actually be a competitor. But having their top end barely beat out a 3060, they're not a competitor in the GPU market.
No, certainly not yet.
They're not going to have, as of right now, they're not going to have any impact that we were hoping on the pricing of current GPUs, which granted has gotten way better. But, I mean, still, $300 for a top-of-the-line NVIDIA GPU, 10 years ago, now is $1,000 to $1,500 MSRP for a top-of-the-line GPU. And we were kind of hoping that Intel, entering the game, would bring that down a bit. And
yeah, that's true.
With their Alpha Series GPUs, that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of too little too late, at least for this generation.
At least for this generation.
For sure. And speaking of products that are pointless right now, the GTX 1630.
Don't you mean the 1050?
Yeah, the 1050 Ti. Yeah, the new GTX 1630, of which there are partner models overclocked
at almost $200.
Yeah, or more. But anyway, the MSRP for the 1630 is crazy town. Anyway, $169. The GTX 1050 Ti, which you get the same performance out of, had an MSRP of $139.
And I actually bought back about a year and a half after the 1050 launched. I went to Micro Center and I paid $179 for a dual fan Gigabyte WindForce 1050 Ti.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Now, granted, at the time, I was coming from a 2 gig GT710, so the 1050 Ti's performance for me at the time was like, oh, holy shit! But I mean, that was 2016, 2017, mid 2017. I mean, this is 2022, and they're launching a GPU SKU that has equal performance to a 1050 Ti at a higher MSRP. NVIDIA, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what is going on here. I had this question about Threadripper Pro pricing, but I have this question about NVIDIA with the 1630. NVIDIA, are you high?
The only thing I can think of, like I said with the Threadripper, is this is to make shareholders happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, okay, so you get two things with the 1630 that you don't get with the 1050 Ti. That would be support for VP8 and H.265 codecs in the decoder. Not the encoder, the decoder.
Woo!
That's it. That's what your extra $50 gets you.
Wait, what's the VRAM on the 1630?
It's 4 gigs.
Okay, so
just
same.
Like the 1050 Ti. Yeah. For the discussion question, I just have why.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an answer other than shareholders.
That's the only thing I can think of. Shareholders being like, "Hey, we want a product. We want a product. We want a product."
Like, hey, we sold video cards. We sold video cards to not miners. Because why in the hell would a miner get a 1630? Oy.
How do you feel about another blunt segue?
Yeah, speaking of new generation things, ASRock has released a new BIOS for their 600 series Intel motherboards that apparently supports the as yet unannounced 13th gen Raptor Lake.
Is it unannounced?
Not officially announced, as far as I know.
Hold up. 11 hours ago, Intel Core i9 13900K. Okay, everything we know so far. So, as far as we know, there hasn't been a press release from Intel discussing the in-depth what will be the 1300 series processors. Oh my god. Bro, Intel, what the fuck? According to this, they're still on the 10 nanometer Intel ESF.
Of course they are. I mean, how long are we on 14 nanometer? How many generations? How many pluses? Intel's stuck on 10 nanometer for a while.
Supports up to dual channel DDR5. So we don't even have quad channel support. We don't even have quad channel support.
Of course not. But we do have support for Raptor Lake on the 600 series motherboards from ASRock. One feature that they usefully have is auto driver installer, which apparently ensures that drivers are automatically installed for your Ethernet connection.
Okay.
So it just guarantees that you always have a network connection, because Windows may not necessarily include the proper drivers. And it also provides a convenient way to install all drivers needed without any annoying application lifted in your OS. This is the official ASRock press release, by the way. That is to say, no need to worry about not having the CD-ROM for support CD, and you could set the system just in a blink.
I just read that. Who the hell is using CD-ROMs?
That's a fantastic question, but also, why would you waste a DVD for a driver disk?
Like, this is 2022. They don't even make cases that really for consumers that have 5 1/4 disk space.
That's true. Basically, every case you see now does not have that.
Yeah.
It's it definitely it solves a problem that doesn't really exist.
Yeah. Like, why? Okay.
But I guess that's nice to know that you're always going to have a network connection.
Well, to be fair, I mean, if you have a bad driver that's preventing you from being able to connect to the internet, a auto driver installer for your Ethernet really isn't going to work. So,
well, that's true. And
like in order to guarantee you an internet connection, you have to have an internet connection.
Well, what I think it does is the driver files are just built into the BIOS, and it just automatically installs them in Windows.
Okay, but you would have to regularly update your BIOS in order to have those.
Well, they would include updates with BIOS updates, certainly, and of course you would update from Microsoft Update when new updates get, put there.
Yeah, true, but how many people regularly remember to update their BIOS?
Virtually nobody, and frankly you shouldn't unless it fixes something that you need fixed or provides a new feature that you absolutely need.
Exactly. Unless you're having issues, most people don't update their BIOS.
Yeah. And most people don't, and most people shouldn't. However,
I personally do check about once a month for BIOS updates, because you never know, they could have something
bug fix or whatever.
A bug fix or a security fix, with
security update, sure.
With the what is it, ELAM, early launch malware, early launch anti-malware. So every once in a while there's an update to ELAM or something. That's my wife in the back. She's super hot.
And it's her birthday. Happy birthday.
It is her birthday. So there could be security updates to ELAM, or even a firmware update for your TPM modules, anything like that. So I do check about once a month, maybe twice a month, for updates. But I mean, that's honestly because I'm specifically going for cybersecurity, and the average Joe is not going to do that.
No. And I was actually going to use that as a nice segue to our next segment, but I just remembered something. Speaking of ASRock, I got a new toy by ASRock. The ASRock Phantom Gaming D6900 XT. Woohoo!
Hold up. Wait, what? I'll be honest, call me crazy. I didn't know ASRock made GPUs.
Yes, they do, and I actually really love this one.
That's awesome, because ASRock is usually like the budget side.
Yeah, and I guess I should mention, I got a really good deal on this 6900 XT. They normally retail for about $1,000, brand new. I got this one open box at Micro Center, of all places, for a whopping $702 plus tax.
Dude, and hold up. AMD MSRP 6900 XT.
$999.
I like that. AMD 6900 XT MSRP
$999.
$1,000 was their launch price.
And I got this one open box for $702 plus tax. And the crazy thing is, it was only technically open box because it still had the original peels on the freaking card itself.
Nice.
So it was open box, but also not used.
And how do you like it?
Oh my god, this thing's a beast.
Nice.
I went from like just a hair under 90 FPS average in Shadow of the Tomb Raider 1440p high without DLSS to 189 FPS average 1440p high.
Damn. And I gotta ask because I am a slut for RTX. How is it?
In Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's usable. It's usable.
Okay.
It's not NVIDIA, but it's usable.
Okay. I'm contemplatively stroking my beard. Okay.
Now, I mean, me personally, I don't really care for ray tracing that much. I mean, it's cool technology, but a lot of games just don't use it right.
Games for now. I'm going to disengage slightly from our regularly scheduled programming. Have you seen the demos for Unreal Engine 5?
I have, and they're absolutely incredible.
Dude, like complete photorealism.
But it
like,
does that without ray tracing.
To a point.
I mean, yeah, okay, ray tracing is cool. And it's nice that AMD cards, support it in hardware, and I'm sure the 7000 series, it's just going to improve.
Yeah. Honestly, NVIDIA cracked the ice, and more developers, especially indie developers, are beginning to make use of global RTX, which is awesome. And AMD, it's good to see that AMD has caught on. AMD has caught on. That was one thing that when RTX was first released, that was one concern of mine, was what if AMD pulls an Intel? And they go, oh, that's not going to catch on, that's not going to catch on, that's not going to catch on. And next thing you know, NVIDIA is so far ahead of the game that there is so much ground for AMD to cover.
Yep.
That was my main concern when RTX was first launched. Seeing AMD come out with RTX, because if memory serves, RTX really released when AMD was on the 5000 series.
Yes.
And the fact that at the 6000 series, AMD was like, boom, RTX, here we go. Here's our version of RTX.
Yeah, and
like you said,
you just use it with DXR, DirectX ray tracing. That's it.
Yeah.
You just use it.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have a lot more developers over the next few years make full use of ray tracing, real-time ray tracing. And honestly, this is just another hurdle that Intel has to overcome. With their A1000 series, really, Corey? Wow, get it together. Their A series GPUs. Yeah. And who knows? I haven't even really seen any kind of RTX or I'm sorry, it's not RTX. I haven't seen any kind of ray tracing tests from Intel, but dude, they have so much to catch up on. And honestly, and I'm gonna kind of do a broken segue here. Intel, I feel like, would have a really, much easier time going forward if they have better security than AMD.
Yeah, that would be nice, because that does indeed lead us into a brand new segment called Of Course They Did. Yeah. AMD has been caught with their pants down because some of its passwords were just password. Because of course they did.
That's the same code I have on my luggage.
Oh my God, tell the mayor. I don't know why you'd want to tell the mayor. I don't know what the mayor wants to do with your luggage, but tell him anyway. The password.
Oh no, password. I should probably tell the head TSA agent for customs at Spaceball City.
Yeah, TSA might want to know. Yes, so the article is a little bit confusing. The article says an extortion group known as Ransom House claims to have taken more than 450 gigs.
Gigabits.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure they meant gigabytes.
Oh no, it specifically says gigabits.
Anyway, there's a link to Restore Privacy, where yes, it does in fact say more than 450 gigabits. But yeah, I don't know if Ransom House is the actual hacking group.
Well, here's what's confusing. Is the article says an extortion group known as Ransom House. Okay, what does that say right off the bat? Ransomware. You get a virus or a Trojan on your system, and all of a sudden your system says, your hard drive is encrypted. Please pay this amount of money to have your data decrypted or we steal your data. That kind of thing. That's ransomware. Ransom House. Ransomware. An extortion group. This is what the article says. Ransom House came out and said that it has nothing to do with the breach itself and doesn't produce ransomware.
I'm picking up what you're missing here, Corey. So, ransom in this case can also just simply mean we've got your data, pay us, or we're going to publicly leak it.
You're thinking maybe they contract out to somebody else?
Yes, I'm thinking that Ransom House, some other group other than Ransom House actually did the breach, but it was just Ransom House that grabbed the data and they may have purchased the breach from
a good point.
a dark web sales website.
That's a very good point.
And they're the ones that just got the data.
That's actually a very good point. And honestly, the article says it's worth noting that the small b after the amount of data Solo knows well, as that means gigabits and not gigabytes. 450 gigabits is just over 56 gigabytes of data, which, to be fair, if those are like Excel sheets, that's millions of data. That's millions of rows of data.
Yeah, it's a couple of text files, a CSV, so basically a spreadsheet, and a file that's large, really large, that doesn't have a file extension, so maybe like a database or something like that.
Okay.
But to be fair, 56 gigs, it's not a lot of data when you consider how much data AMD probably does store.
Well, this is true. This is true.
But it's not nothing.
I mean, if AMD has billions of users' data, 56 gigs could still be hundreds of millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying it's that big. I mean, there was an Equifax breach a while back that was way bigger than this, and they only got away with what was it, like 56 million, something like that?
It was actually closer to like a billion records. Well, it's not the first time they've been breached.
147 million.
Oh yeah, 147 million. Still, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. Maybe they also used the password.
Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, or that.
Exclamation mark. We gotta put an exclamation mark at the end because we don't want to get brute forced.
Oh yeah, gotta have that exclamation mark. Gotta have that special character. So a good question for this one would be, what counts as a good password?
Okay, as somebody who's going through cybersecurity, honestly, one thing off the top is you have brute force and dictionary attacks. So if you have a password that starts with its, like ITS, these cracking programs, they look at what commonly follows its, like it's something, or let's say you have a password that starts with the word new. What normally follows new? New car, new dog, new wife. These are straight up words that dictionary attacks will actually focus on. And modern day brute force and dictionary attack software, they know that sometimes you'll use a 0 for an O or a 1 for an I, things like that. And these programs will try things like that. When it comes to passwords, what I would recommend is pick words and symbols that do not go together. If you have an I, swap it with an L, or something like that, or an exclamation mark. Pick words that don't ever go together, like computer, car, drink. You know, things that are completely unrelated. And honestly, the best passwords are just random sequences, like exclamation mark 556 question mark backslash equal sign 237. Like, those are always going to be the best passwords. But if you're wanting,
yes,
exactly. But if you're wanting something that's fairly secure and easier to remember, pick words and symbols that don't normally go together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you're going to be, remembering passwords, use words or phrases that are not commonly found together. Make it meaningful to you, easy to remember, hard to guess is the key.
Yeah. And honestly, I have found that the stranger you make your password, the easier it is to remember.
Yeah. If you're like me and you don't like remembering passwords for the hundreds of services that I have passwords for, use a password manager.
Yep. And
I use one password.
Make sure you're using a reputable password manager.
Yes. I use 1Password. 1Password is absolutely amazing. They also support two-factor authentication, and their family plan is absolutely awesome. And they've got official clients for Mac, Windows, and Linux.
Nice.
And iOS and Android and all the browsers. Yeah. So, little segue into password managers and passwords there, because AMD used a password they shouldn't have. Because of course they did. The next story, of course.
And I was actually gonna say, if you don't have a strong password, it could lead to your doom.
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. It could also lead to your self-order kiosk at McDonald's getting Doom installed on it. I think they took a hint from AMD. I think the password to that thing was password.
Yeah.
But yes, someone's loaded Doom onto a McDonald's self-serve kiosk. And you ever seen those kiosks? They're those big, gigantic touchscreens with a credit card reader, and you point at it and you tap on what you want, and it places your order because they want to replace humans.
Yeah.
Well,
which ultimately is basically just a vertical monitor strapped to a thin client and wrapped in a fancy case.
Yeah, basically. It's a gigantic smartphone, essentially.
Pretty much.
But anyway, someone has gone and installed Doom on one of the things because, of course they would. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
If given the opportunity to install Doom on something, do you not install Doom on something? No, you install it.
And I give them credit, they installed OG Doom.
Yes.
The original.
That might be a source port, probably.
Probably.
But yes, it appears to be the original Doom WAD files running on the McDonald's kiosk.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, this is just the most amazing thing in the world I've ever seen. One question though, how do you provide inputs?
To be fair,
the credit card terminal.
To be fair, I think the most amazing thing was getting Doom to run on a pregnancy test.
Yeah, but that wasn't really running on the pregnancy test. It was running on external hardware using the pregnancy test as a display.
It was internal. It was internal, but he had to take it apart and replace some of the ICs on the board.
See, that doesn't count. This is an unmodified McDonald's self-service kiosk.
It counts. It counts.
It's not even real Doom. This is real Doom on a real unmodified McDonald's kiosk.
How do you input?
I suspect the credit card terminal.
Suspect.
Actually, no, it's probably touchscreen. They probably coded some touchscreen controls in there. Or maybe they didn't, and it's just sitting there doing nothing.
Well, to be fair, the original Doom, if you're sitting on the main menu and you don't do anything for a second, it goes into gameplay footage.
Oh, that's true. It does go into a sort of a demo mode. That's true.
So maybe that's what's running here. Because actually, let me pull up the photo here.
Oh, it's also rotated 90 degrees to the right. I should mention that.
I don't. Well, maybe it's the demo. Maybe it's the demo. He's not on the first level, and he has 50 rounds of ammunition, but it is on the starting pistol. So. And
he's got 100% health.
Yeah. So I would say it's the demo mode. I would say it's the demo mode.
Probably. But yeah, that's awesome. I love how it's like the original tweet was, "Yo, who the F installed Doom on a McDonald's kiosk?" And the official Doom Twitter account retweeted it and quoted it and said, "A genius."
Yeah.
Hats off to the genius that installed Doom on a McDonald's self-serve kiosk. I salute you. That is absolutely fantastic. So fantastic things aside, we got one more fantastic thing.
Real quick, before we go into that, I clicked on one of the related articles at the bottom of that one. You can now play Doom on a Lego piece.
Ah, yes, a Lego piece with a display that you can play Doom on.
Yup.
Which also mentions that somebody got Doom running on Apple's Touch Bar.
The hollowed-out blue brick also contains a STM32F030F4P6 microcontroller with a single-core ARM Cortex M0 running at 48 MHz, 4 kilobytes of RAM, and 16 kilobytes of flash storage.
See, this one also technically doesn't count because a PC is not Doom.
I know.
But I think this is one of the better ones because it's like embedded in a Lego.
And the fact that he still had to run a Python script for dithering and resizing, and the creator even added capacitive touch controls to the two studs on top, allowing you to turn in-game.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so at that point, I would say it counts. It's not like they're building the PC and then just hooking it up to a tiny monitor. Like, there was actual ingenuity that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to see Doom running on the touch bar. I have a 2016 MacBook Pro with a touch bar. I want to play Doom on a touch bar.
Nice. All right, what was that last segue you had?
So, last segment, we've got a special announcement.
Yes. Thanks to our good friend and awesome boss here, Drew.
Very, very special announcement. So, ever since the group's founding, we've existed purely as a Facebook-based buy-sell discussion group with a special boosted Discord server for live discussions and things of that nature. Today, Sunday, July 3rd, 2022, we get to add to our online presence. We are very proud to announce our brand new website and discussion forum. Come join us at SCCE.group and help us grow the best computer enthusiast group in Colorado. The forum contains loads of discussion topics, including 3D printing, DIY projects, a whole lot more. If you'd also like to financially help the group grow, you can even subscribe to a special forum membership and get access to special donator-only features, including 24-hour access to videos before they go public, including videos like this.
And I would like to add to this that we are strictly not for profit. This is not a for-profit thing. Anything that comes in goes straight back into the group for
hosting costs,
better videos for hosting costs for the website, the email server, better videos. Even if we get big enough, possible giveaways. Throughout the year, maybe for Christmas, things like that. So just wanted to make that clear. This is not for profit. This is not for profit. That is not why we are here. That is not why the group was built.
Exactly. Any and all donations go back directly to support the group. Like you said, giveaways might be a thing here in the future. Definitely excited about that one. Definitely ready to give away some stuff.
Yes.
But giveaways.
Sorry, just realized my mic was like hanging out, just doing its own thing.
Just chilling.
Just
hanging there.
Yeah, so the website does not have a whole lot of stuff on it yet, as it is brand new. It is brand new, but that will change. That will change, very hopefully.
Yep. So come to the website, scce.group. It's going to have a link to the forums as well as our blog, which will be posting news items and things of that nature.
And if you happen to go there and you're not seeing a whole lot, don't worry. Just drop in an introduction. It'll unlock the rest of it for you.
Yep. Drop us an introduction. Tell us about your PC.
Yep. What do you like to play? Why are you here? All that good stuff. Or, just whatever you want. Just, a cool introduction, saying, hey, this is me, this is what I'm about, that kind of thing.
And then once you're there, drop into our Show Off Your PC subforum and show off your build.
Because we always want to see your builds. We always want to see your builds. Even if you think it's crappy, even if you're looking at your build, you're like, man, I could do better than this. I'm seeing so many things online. You never know. You might have something going on that somebody else might be like, dude, I should have thought of that. I should have thought of that.
Hey, even if you build the laptop.
Yeah. Well, Drew, I think that about wraps it up for tonight.
Yep, that does about wrap things up for tonight. Be sure to give us a like. Let us know you liked this video. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Drew.
My name is Corey.
We'll see you next time.
You